156 turns and the nuances of it. And surprisingly too is, even though it's paved, there's sections where you drive in there committed. Pikes Peak, you have to drive way past what you can see, totally past what you can see. And there's places in there where the previous cars have all run in the ditches ahead of it, and something that was pavement is suddenly covered in gravel again. And so there's always these moments of where you have to adapt as a driver. So with that, but obviously, I mean, Porsche Motorsport put together an amazing car for me, and I really never had a car that I immediately felt so comfortable in from the beginning. I think that really what allowed me to go faster every day, so I was not thinking so much about the car, more about attacking the mountain. And that one day, that one run, that's what you truly have to do, is really attack it. So, any questions? Yeah, the question is whether I could pick up, seeing the video, whether I see places I can pick up time. Yeah, I do, and it's a different experience watching it because so many things you're adapting to at that moment. And there was, you know, the tires were an issue that we wanted to make sure that they worked the best they possibly could all the way through for all the 12 miles. Because what happens is the course, the way it is now, is actually reverse of what you'd want it to be. You wish it started in dirt and finished in pavement. But the slipperiest, scariest parts, the 80 to 90 mile an hour tarts at the top, are all dirt. That's after you've run 10 miles up there on pavement, mixed surfaces. So it was very important, and you can probably see in the video there, you're trying to save the tires as much as possible on the pavement so that they have as much grip as possible on the dirt, because you're really going to lose a lot of time if a tire doesn't work in the dirt. The Pirelli Racing Range were absolutely the perfect tires to run there. But I watch this video every time. I wish I could go faster there. But, you know, there's also moments you choose at time to say, okay, I got to save a little bit or adapt a little bit that you don't even remember doing there. Any other questions?
What about Terry sitting over there?
Yeah. Yeah, my wife sits at the bottom of the hill every year. And I'll tell you, it's a miserable spectator sport because we go by one, you know, the entire weekend. But as a driver, and I've driven a lot of different things through the years, and this is an event and an adventure and an effort that's focused on that one single run that really makes it unique in the motorsports I've done. No, the steering is assisted, but it's a very light steering. So it's quick steering. We actually, the Cup cars as they sit are a little, they don't have as much steering radius as we adapted into this car, because obviously if you get in a sideways situation, you need to have all the steering locked to be able to save it. So we did adapt this car to have a slightly more steering angle than a regular Cup road racing car.
So looking at your competition, were you faster than dirt or the changes?
You know, our competition truly this year was Reese Millen's record. We knew he had a really good car from last year, and there's few people that know the mountain as well as Reese. So we knew when we broke the qualifying record, which was just on the bottom, that we had gone about 8 seconds faster than he had on the bottom. But I knew, because his car was turbocharged, and Reese is slightly more daring than me, that perhaps he was going to be faster in the top section. And that's where, honestly, I had more confidence in this car, the way it was set up and the way it felt than previous year's cars. So we went quicker than Reese did in the top two, and that's something I wasn't normally able to do. Yes.
Was his car an all-wheel drive or two-wheel?
His was a two-wheel drive car also. Just so you know, the Time Attack class is split into two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And we went there to break the two-wheel drive record, but we actually broke the four-wheel drive and the two-wheel drive record with the run this year. So it was really, one of the milestones of this was that this car finished 6th overall. So we were only beat by 3 unlimited cars, which no rules at all, 900 horsepower with four-wheel drive, and 2 open-wheel cars. And that's the highest division of production-based cars ever finished. So it was a good run.
Did you have data acquisition that told you growing up if you were ahead or behind sometimes?
We didn't have anything live that I could look at, but it really was a big advantage over the previous cars because the Motec in the car allows me to review the whole run. And we had people from Porsche Motorsport North America along with me that would basically download every run. We could overlay our practice runs over the top of each other and actually see that some places I could be up a gear, down a gear. There's a lot of kind of traction issues that you don't really see here. There's times where you're modulating with your foot, you hear me maybe coasting and places like that. You're looking for a way to make it so that you're just putting the most power down. And literally from run to run, the course changes. Road racing, we all know we've got to hit the apexes, we've got to get our braking zone, we've got to carry as much speed as possible to get out of it. In this case, you go one run and the braking zone is over here, way over on the right. Suddenly 20 cars have come through and cleaned it up on the inside. So you're constantly, as a driver, looking for the cleanest parts of the course to be able to lay down the most power out of a corner. And you're adjusting, and you kind of turn into something, you realize the car slips, and you got to ease it over into this clean part. I'm almost there. Okay, I'm in the clean, now go. And you're kind of making those adjustments, which is entirely different than what road racing is. At times, you almost lost the law. Yeah, there are times, I think maybe once I really bumped against the stops and saving because it would snap out at times. But it was really trying to make those moves to stay in the cleanest parts. We just knew that the package of the car was so good, but it wasn't all-wheel drive. So we were constantly looking for those cleanest parts of the course. It's all got an adapter. Now, what we did along the way was interesting going into this program. Porsche had never really run a car much over 7,000 feet, a car like this. So we were going a little bit of unknown because we're nearly 3 miles above sea level in this car. So the problem that, we thought we made a lot of problems. We just made a subtle adjustment in the mapping that Andrew, who was there from Porsche Motorsport, he would download things again, watch how the engine's performing, watching my throttle positions, watching how everything's running. We could monitor fuel flow, everything in there, and just would make adjustments that you literally move the map up in the altitude scale so that it works both at the bottom and at the top. But the adjustments, I think for all of us, we were quite surprised that they were minor adjustments, because we had absolutely zero kind of learning curve and everything in the car, both as a driver for me, because I'd never driven a sequential box before. All of it came together very comfortably. You do feel the altitude, and that's two parts. The drivers feel the altitude. A lot of the top drivers wear oxygen. And I've never actually worn oxygen until just recently. I lived at about 8,000 feet, so that helped being a little more acclimated to it. Fitness does play into it because it's there's a lot going on, and you got to concentrate on breathing all the time and taking as much in. From a car standpoint, it's surprising. Yes, you feel a loss of power, but one of the big advantages of this car over the turbo cars is I had such short gears. So when I pull a gear, I would only be losing about 1,000 to 1,200 RPM. So I was in the sweet spot. We had 5 speeds and 75 miles an hour. I'm in the sweet spot of that engine the whole way. So I honestly thought I'd be like waiting on it, top. We got to get top, pulling, waiting. The power was fantastic all the way up, and I didn't feel that. The other thing that happens, which you don't realize, is actually the brakes are getting less cooling. There's things, when I've driven turbo cars there before, I've run completely out of brakes at the top, because we also do some left foot braking in a turbo car to just manage the power in it. But we had none of those issues in this car. When you think about it, everything I've driven before was a showroom stock car, a production car that we adapted to Pikes Peak. This started as a race car, so it was already set up for the most extreme running, and then the adaptation to make it work on dirt was fairly minor because of the surface now. So it was a very good package. We just didn't have any overheating or any issues there.